Sober Sundays with Mike Mechow. We have Flawed Media in Rockville Center. Once again, thank you to Jay. And today, special guest, we have Tara. Hi, Tara.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm so proud that you said yes right away to come in here.
Oh, thank you. I really feel like it's an honor to be asked, and like a real pleasure for me to come in here and speak with you.
So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Let's see. I grew up. I'm one of three children. I'm the oldest of three children. I had a very. My mom and dad were married. My whole life they were married. So my dad died when I was 46. So they were married for 47 years. So my sister's a year younger than me, and my brother's a year younger than that. We had a really comfortable life. My dad worked his butt off to make a good life for his family. I'm truly, truly blessed. I am so blessed with the family that I was given, that God gave me. My mom and dad were awesome. My dad was like one of the most special people in the entire world to me. And my mom is too. She was just my dad and I had more of a special bond. And, I realized now, even thinking of this, my mom grew up in an alcoholic home. And with me being like an alcoholic and stuff, her home life was very violent at sometimes. And she got really scared growing up. And I realized that a lot now, like looking back, she acted angry towards me, but it wasn't really anger. It was fear, So anyway, that's a little about me growing up.
When did you start drinking?
I remember I started, like everybody was doing it in high school, and I hated beer. So I was like, I didn't really drink. I was always the one driving. And I guess in college, I started drinking, and I worked on Wall Street when I graduated. And so I would go out at night and drink there. Like, I always called it social drinking, but I definitely, and I feel like I didn't cross a line until I did. But I think it was typical, a weekend was Friday, Saturday, and then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Sunday, fun day.
I know. The worst, I found the worst time going out would be like Monday night, though sometimes it was fun, but Tuesday is the worst day to be hungover because you still have so much the week is still so long. And I used to come in, I was like, I actually, by the grace of God, I never got fired from any of my jobs. I don't know how, but I'd come in, it was like partly cloudy. That's how my brain felt. I was partly cloudy.
So despite maybe warnings from your mother.
Right. Well, I had alcoholism runs on both sides of my family. I'm the only one in my immediate family to have, whether genetically disposed or whatever. I'm the only one who is an alcoholic in my immediate family. My mom's sister was, her half-sister, my dad's father, my dad's brother. Did
you cross this imaginary line, purposely?
Heck no. It just kind of happened. I was always like, I used to be like, you know what? I had to do outpatient a long time ago when I was 25. And that made me, what I thought, realize, well, I may abuse alcohol, but I'm not an alcoholic. And I said, that doesn't mean I won't be one day, but as of right now, I'm not. And
potential, you had potential.
I had definitely potential, and I definitely reached it, for sure.
So what happened?
Well, I think that, I used to put it like this. I used to major in cocaine and minor in alcohol, but I changed majors. I switched majors, and then I majored in alcohol and minored in cocaine a little. But the alcohol ended up it brought me to my knees way faster. I mean, I had been drinking and everything for a long time, but it was never by myself. It was never during the day. It was all these reasons that I could be like, yes, I abuse alcohol, but I'm not a typical alcoholic, even though I always knew it's what alcohol does to you when you drink, not how much or when or how, it's what it does to you.
That's right.
And I never thought, I was like, nothing bad ever happened to me. How did this end up happening? How am I an alcoholic? How did this end up happening to me? Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter because it did. And I used to get jealous of people like, oh, they're not an alcoholic and they drink more than I do. Or, it didn't happen to my brother or sister. Anyway.
I don't think normal people think like that.
Well, that's, you know what? I've also come to realize, since I've been sober, I mean, I didn't know people didn't go out to get drunk. I thought that was the only reason to drink. Apparently people like the taste of it sometimes. I that's beyond me. Like, if I'm going to go out, there's no such thing as going out for one drink. What's the point?
So despite all the drinking, you got married and had a family.
I got married. I had 2 children. And you know what? I guess it started I started crossing the line. Let's say I had stopped working. I had gotten laid off. That actually had nothing to do with drinking. Mm-hmm. And I was taking, I had most of the time during the day, like my parents were around, so I'd hang out with them. I'd take care of my children. My son had started primary school and grammar school, so he was gone more, and I still had to take care of my daughter, who was 3 years younger. I'd say, like, I can't pin the exact date, but I know when things started going downhill. Or actually, I'll say, when things started going downhill, I had already been to rehab once. I'd been to outpatient twice, and I'd been to tons of meetings in and out of the rooms. But for some reason, for all those years and continuing forward for many more years to come, I always had reservations. I don't know why. And I was like, I'll be able to figure this out. Some way I'll be able to drink, and like, I can do it safely.
They don't teach you that though, right?
No, they don't teach you that. And I didn't think I was special, but I thought that I'd be able to do it somehow, Apparently I did think I was special, because I don't know any alcoholics who have managed to do it safely, or without a lot of consequences. But my dad got sick in 2016. He was diagnosed with ALS. So I didn't have any of the coping mechanisms or the tools to use to deal with this kind of news. I mean, I had been in the rooms and everything else like that, but I hadn't been active. I think that there's a very big difference. People say there's a difference between whether you're around AA or whether you're in AA. Because if you're in AA, that means you have a network. You have people to talk to. You have people to help you. You have people to tell you what to do, and you don't know what to do yourself. So what I did was what I knew best, was anything that I didn't. Most of my feelings growing up that I was uncomfortable with was anxiety. So now, whenever I was anxious, I would drink to cut the edge off. And now I had like a painful thing going on in my life. So that's when the drinking increased. And then my dad passed away. And let's see, that was in October of 16. My mom got lung cancer in December of 16. My husband and I ended up, we got separated. That was June of 17, and I had gone to Florida for 3 weeks to visit my mom, and I came home and nobody lived there anymore. So the kids and I had gone. So that was a shock. And then the rest of the summer, and then in the fall, the kids went back to school. So now I had a lot of time on my hands. And that was really that.
Now you're over that line.
Now I'm over. Yeah, that's when I really, really crossed it. And and people would be like, oh my gosh, Tara, my brother kept being like, you got to go back to rehab. You got to go back to rehab. And I was like, no, I'm good. And I even heard somebody else say, oh, they were always good. I was the furthest thing from good. I can't even tell you. And for some reason, I had, between September and February, I had been arrested 3 times. I had been a CPS in my life, which I had never had before. But apparently, I was good. And I didn't need anybody's help, and I didn't need to change anything, and I didn't need, rehabs or whatever. And a long time before that, I said I was willing to do anything to stop drinking, and Seafield told me to go to Mercy Hall. I was like, anything but that. And
but eventually, something happens.
Well, eventually.
I mean, you became a little famous for a while.
Yeah, I did. I say, honestly, because I was so good, and I was like, I did not plan on stopping drinking. I think the word acceptance for me kind of is like when my head and heart match, but I accepted that I was an alcoholic and that this is how I was going to be living my life because I was good. There was nothing the matter with what I was doing. I was so selfish and self-absorbed and self-centered. I can't even believe that how I missed it. You know what I mean? But I didn't want to see it. I was in such deep denial. So February 12th of 2018, I say God did for me what I couldn't do for myself, really. And I was in a terrible DWI accident. I hit my neighbor who was walking home from the train station, and he was severely injured. And it was like, I mean, I was in shock, I think, when it happened, but it was after that experience, or kind of, you know, like a lot of things went on. He is blessed, and I am so blessed that, you know, he survived, and, you know, quality of life is, he went back to work, he drives, you know, everything else.
Great.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, God was watching out for me. Like,
But the outpour of the neighborhood and the news and the coverage.
Yeah, these are people who I was friends with who do not care for me anymore. And you know what? I get it, because I was putting everybody at risk, but like I didn't even realize it, because like I said, I was so self-absorbed. And you know, some of my neighbors have said they tried to help me, and yeah, they did. But you know what? I know for me, this alcoholic wasn't ready to hear it from anybody. I wasn't ready. I couldn't change until I wanted it for myself, until I surrendered. So I said, like, I accepted that I was an alcoholic, and I was just going to live that way until this day when God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And I finally surrendered. Like, I was like, oh, that's it. This is it. I am broke.
Rock bottom?
Rock bottom. I am so broken. Like, and it wasn't the thought of like going to jail or anything else like that. It was that I hurt somebody, you know, one of those things that could never happen to me happened to me. You know, I was just going to the grocery store to get stuff for lunch tomorrow for the kids, and like, oh, I'll be back quick. It's not far. Gosh, you know what? People do it all the time. I do it all the time. Nothing will happen until something happens. And I was one house away from my house, and I was not even driving like erratically or whatever, but I had been drinking. And no matter what, I'm wrong, because you're not supposed to get into a car. You're not supposed to when you've been drinking. Mm-hmm. You know, I didn't belong drinking anyway. And I hear some people say, oh, you know what? It's all right. I'll drink again. I can drink again. I just can't drive. For this alcoholic, there is no drinking. It's not about the driving, because if I ever picked up again, I would end up in a car somehow. And it's not something I'm willing to risk anymore.
So this brought you back to treatment?
It's brought me back to treatment. I was arrested, and I spent 4 days in Nassau County jail, which is horrible. It's a miserable, miserable place. And I got arraigned that morning, and my brother came, and I was like, oh, and they actually gave me bail, because I had been arrested 3 other times during that. I told you that, so that's why I had a bail. And he didn't bail me out. I was like, what is going on here? So I was in Nassau County for 4 days. I came home. I had to go to court. The judge wanted to see me. I was in the middle of divorce, so I couldn't go to rehab right away, because the judge was like, oh, by the way, the kids, I had custody of our children at the time. That was ripped right out from under me, you know, because I was never going to lose custody of them. Like, my drinking didn't affect that. It would never happen. The judge wouldn't do that. Why would the judge do that? Because I'm such a great mom, you know? And so I went to rehab a week later. I went to rehab February 23rd, 2018, and my sober date is February 24th, 2018. So I just celebrated 5 years, so I did rehab. Ooh. And I came home, and I said, you know what? I'm going to move into the Seafield Sober House, which I had been previously in 2015, and I relapsed after 4 months. And this is the only time, like, of all my other attempts at getting sober, this is the only time I did it for myself. I was always doing it for my parents or my husband or my kids. This is finally this bottom is what it took for Tara to want to change. So
you get sober, you're in treatment, you're dealing with a court case, the kids, a divorce, and now here comes sentencing.
Yeah. Well, when I first found out, they offered me 5 to 15 years, and I was floored. I couldn't believe it. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this can't be happening to me. And I was like, oh, you know what? they'll knock it down to 3 years and they'll knock it down to 1 and everything will be okay. That ended up not being the case. I was sentenced. I fought my case from outside while I was doing treatment and going to AA and changing who I was. But my sentence was 2 to 6 years with a flat bit of 3 because I took I pled out to 2 felony charges. So in July, this past July 2022, I just got home from spending 3 years and 3 months in state prison up in Albion, New York, where it's the middle of nowhere between Rochester and Buffalo. And it was real. It was really real. So, yeah, I was dealing with sentencing and all that. And, I don't think it ever really hit me. Like, when I first was going to get sentenced, I was like, a year. I'll probably just end up doing it in county. Yeah, well, the judge and other people had other ideas, which, I can see why.
Were you tempted to drink?
Yeah.
Before, during?
During. My mom passed away. The accident happened in February. My mom passed away in June. I hadn't seen my children. We sold our family home. There was a lot of stuff that went on during then, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't. I was definitely tempted, but I wanted the sobriety too much. I was like, I was like, nothing is worth giving this up for. And I also was going to have to go to Nassau County Jail till I got the day of sentencing if I relapsed. So that was a bit of an incentive at the time, but I knew I wanted to change.
Do you regret, maybe not regret, but do you think that everything you did from the time the accident happened for your sobriety, the treatment, the meetings, everything prepared you as best, like the best Tara could be going into a horrible situation like that?
Yeah, I always say that, like, thank God I had a program when I went to prison, because it actually helped me so much.
A lot of people would give up and say, I'm going away.
I know. I said, you know what? All right. So I accepted that I was going, that this was going to happen to me, which a lot of people said they didn't even know how I did that. Only through the grace of God, I swear, was I able to have such a positive outlook on this. I was like, I'll go, I'll do what I have to do. If there's programs and stuff, I'll do that. I didn't see my children for 3 years and 4 months. They had COVID. COVID happened when I was in prison. And I was lucky I did get to speak to my children on the phone. But there were certain resentments. Like, it really, being in prison gave me such a perspective on life and how much I took for granted, and how now I see how much I've changed and what I'm grateful for. And I literally am like a changed person. I finally get it now when people say you have to change from the inside out, because that's what I did. I know I changed. Like, I had a spiritual awakening, and I feel like that, there's that picture, the Sacred Heart of Jesus with the glowing heart. And that's how I feel now. Like, people could have said, you're a miracle, you're a miracle. I genuinely and truly know that I am a miracle, because it could have gone the whole other way. And I am so blessed. Like, I don't have a craving to drink now. I don't have obsessions. I know that it's possible that I will drink again, but if I keep doing today what I did yesterday, like if I do that tomorrow, I'm not going to pick up a drink. As long as I stay spiritually fit, I'd never, ever have to live that way again. And it was so awful. I have found more freedom and happiness in prison than I ever did when I was drinking. And, they say life beyond your wildest dreams, all above that. You know what? My wildest dreams never included prison, but it is part of my story. And it helped, it helped me mold who I am today. And I don't wish to change it. That day of the accident was the worst day of my life. But another guest had said, it also became the best day of my life. I am such a better person now, and I love living this life that I wouldn't change a thing. You know what? God really, He had a plan for me. I didn't have a plan, but they say you may not always get what you want, but you always get what you need. And God certainly was looking out for me. I mean, for me, you can't do this program without God, for me, in your life. And God's my higher power.
So was that God, higher power relationship with you while you were away?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I had
Never alone.
I was never alone. But all the times that I thought I was alone was really when I was still using and stuff, you know. That's when I thought I was alone. But God was with me then. I mean, I'm here to talk about it. So God was with me then. My sponsor taught me something. You know, when you're going through a lot and you feel like everything's like crumbling around you, that's your higher power reminding you to use them. That's when your higher power is reminding you to pray and to do something, you know, to do something a little different, to change something, you know, change the thought, move a muscle. And I hate all AA cliches and everything else like that, but they're so true. Everything the big book says, it's so true. AA has never, ever lied to me. And you know what? There are people maybe who can just give up drinking. I am not one of them. I need to have AA in my life. You know, it holds me accountable. It's given me a life to live. You know, like I can live a sober lifestyle because of AA. I can deal with life because of AA.
What was the programs like in prison?
Well, my main one that I had to complete was a DWI, which is a lot like going to outpatient and everything. But you know what was different for me is that I went to outpatient and inpatient a number of times, but you know what? I can always get something out of it. It doesn't matter if I've already learned it before. There's going to be something else that I'm going to learn.
And you're in a different
And I'm in a
place
different
each time.
perspective. My perspective on life is so different than it ever was before. Like I am so blessed. I can't even tell you. And I don't have, you know, my own house. I live in a sober house. I don't have any money. I have an internship. It's not a full-time job, you know.
Tell us what it is.
Oh, I got my SERPA certification, which is, you know, a certified recovery peer advocate. And I have to get 500 hours to be to get actually licensed by the state or certified by the state. So I'm doing an internship at the Alliance for Positive Change in New York City, and I will get my hours, and I'm learning a lot. I'm getting a lot of experience. I happen to be in the peer empowerment program there, so I get to call people, and I don't know, you know what? I honestly just feel like such an incredibly different person, and I feel like I glow, and I have so much hope for myself and other people. Like if I could give this feeling to other alcoholics who aren't getting it, I would do it if I could. But you know what? Nobody could give it to me except for me. You know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink it. So I just feel so blessed that I finally got it, you know? And it took everything I got. I used to say, why didn't I hit a tree or another car? Why did I have to hit a person? You know what? Because that's what I needed to change. That's where my change came from. So
what's the relationship with your kids like today?
It's awesome. I'm so happy. I love them so much. I miss them so much while I was away. But the first time I saw them after the 3 years and 4 months was the most incredible feeling I've ever had. It was the best high, the best heart-lifting, most joyous occasion I've ever been through. And there's no drink, there's no drug, there's nothing artificial that could have given me anywhere close to that feeling of happiness and joy that I felt that day. And they love me, and they knew where I was, and they knew everything was going on. And I'm blessed that to have the relationship with them that I do, because I mean, I chose to give it up basically before I got sober, but I also made a decision that I wanted it back, and I was going to do anything in the world to do it. And
how old are they?
Colin's 16 and Kira's 13. And so they were 9 and 12 when I went away. And they both got so tall. They're both bigger than me. And they're just, you know, they're wonderful people. I have to really give their dad so much credit because, you know, he wasn't asking for this either. His whole life was changed upside down too. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's not easy to all of a sudden have to be like, okay, well, now you have to be a full-time parent and work a full-time job, and you haven't had to do this and, you know, forever. So they're great kids. And I know if I ever pick up again, they're not going to be a part of my life because they don't want to be around me when I drink.
Has there been any contact with the guy you hit?
Just on my day of sentencing. I apologized for the accident. I apologized for my behavior and my actions, and that I was ready to accept the consequences for what I did. And I did, and I went to prison, and I got hit at the board. Like I was supposed to, I had an opportunity to come home a year earlier than I did, and I got hit. So I took that with a grain of salt because, you know what, obviously I needed to learn something more. There was something more for me to learn or, stay up there. And I have not seen them or spoken to them at all, but I pray for them every day. And you know what? I remember one time I spoke before I went to prison, and I said, you know what? You don't pray for me. Pray for the victim, my neighbor and his family. Pray for them because they need the prayers more than I do, So it's about them. I want them to live a happy, joyous, free life. God, I don't know why, my neighbor's story is or why God chose this to happen, but I know why it's my story, and I know why it happened to me. And I'm so grateful and so blessed that it actually did. And I don't know not very many people. I couldn't imagine. I remember 10 years ago, I was reading a book and they were saying, about this woman in prison. I was like, ooh, thank God I'll never be in prison. Well, then life happens, So, and that's what, AA gives me the tools to deal with life. And I like it so much better. Yeah, it's not a whole ball of, box of chocolates, but you know what? I am so happy and content, and and it gets better each day. As long as I try and be a better person each and every day, and that I'm willing to change and do the next right thing, then I have a pretty darn good life. And you know what? I've gotten that grace and dignity that I didn't have. Like I finally grew up. As like my dad used to say, Tara, grow up, Tara, I'm becoming the person I was meant to be. I'm becoming the mother I was meant to be. And, we'll just see what life has in store next.
So you are probably in a position where you could help so many other women and people in a similar predicament.
Yeah. And if my story can help anybody, I'm willing to tell it, to however many people, however many times, because I feel so incredibly blessed, and not everybody wants to admit having to have gone to prison, but it's part of my story and it's part of who made me what I am today. And I'm a good person, and you know what? That was a big learning experience for me, and so I'm willing to share like any parts of it. There's nothing that it's about rigorous honesty too. How your life been? Well, it's not a bowl of cherries or like I said, a box of chocolates. But I have a life beyond my wildest dreams. Like I would have can you never imagine sitting here talking with you about my sobriety and how blessed I am to have it and how much I cherish it. And I'm willing to do anything not to let it go.
I just think of all the mothers out there in Garden City and those other towns who could never imagine them going to prison. Just like when you walk into a room, no one's going to say, this woman has been to prison, but yet that's where alcohol doesn't care.
Yeah, that's where alcohol took me. Exactly. I mean, I thought when I'd gone to rehab a couple times, 30 days away from my kids and my family and stuff, I thought that, I can't go to rehab. I can't be away for 30 days. Well, guess what? I can be away for 30 days. And it ended up, I ended up being away a lot longer because, it's because I wasn't ready. I can't say, I needed every single thing that happened to me in order for, that happened so I could change and become this sober person who is, willing to help other people and stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't believe how selfish I was. I see now what I took away from my children. Like I was there as a shell of a person, but I wasn't giving them any part of myself. I wasn't giving them me. I wasn't giving myself me because I didn't like me very much, but I wasn't willing to admit that.
So how does this story end? Because I wish that the people who were watching the news years ago and watching it could see this now.
I know, yeah. I didn't see any of I read something, the news stories the day I was sentenced, but I heard a little bit about them, and it was not my finest hour, that is for sure. But you know what? I can say that I came through it. I came out the other side a better person. I remember when my dad died, I didn't want to make a promise to him that I couldn't keep. So I didn't say, I promise I'll stop drinking, Daddy. But I did say, Daddy, I promise I will make you proud of me. And I think I'm fulfilling that promise.
Absolutely.
So.
Okay. So Tara is always willing, reaching out, because now you're back in treatment.
Yep.
With 5 years sober.
Yep.
So you got to be helping a lot of women there.
I am. Like I help them, and I don't even realize that. Like sometimes I tend to talk a lot. I don't know if you've have figured that out yet, but somebody said, and I had apologized. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I hope I didn't take up too much group time. And then like 3 women in the group said, you know what? We love listening to you because we always get something different out of it. Like I do have a lot to share, and but one of the biggest things I can tell you is it can happen to you. And I feel that alcoholism or, alcohol, it's going to get you. It will get you. You may not know how, you may not know when, you may not, and everybody's story about how it gets them is different. But, it definitely got me. Thank God. Like, I can't imagine living life now the way I was living then. I'd probably be dead. I know, I wouldn't have a relationship with my children or my family. I do good things now. Like, I'm proud of myself. I try and help people. I love the opportunities life has given me now, and that I'm able to, take on those opportunities and challenges only because I'm sober.
Do you think your kids today are proud of you? Maybe they were nervous in the beginning. I don't want to make up stuff.
No, they're really proud of me. And there's even some people I think that who never thought I could change and were very, very angry with me for a long time. And I think that I even have kind of pulled at their heartstrings a little, no matter how mad they want to stay at me, they have seen a change and that it's not fake. There wasn't a ton of amends that I had to do, most of my amends were living amends, so like my parents and my children and stuff. But I changed. I'm doing it. I'm not just, it's not just talking the talk. I'm actually walking the walk,
So the dangers of DWIs.
Oh my God. They're awful.
And the impact.
I mean, this is what it is. I think for me to pick up and drink again, I'd be lucky if I died, because what is really going to happen is that by the grace of God, I didn't kill somebody that day. But, I'm going to end up either killing somebody or my children. If I drank again and I died, that would be a blessing compared to what could happen, honestly. I have to live with every single day that I hurt somebody and changed them and their family for the rest of their lives. But God helps me do that. And you know what? And I know that me changing and trying to help other people so it doesn't happen to them is what I need to be, is what I can do to, if I didn't change, all that would have been in vain, kind of so.
I was going to ask, do you think the victim family, I'm sure they're somewhat happy that it turned out this way for you anyway.
Yeah, I think
that it wasn't for nothing.
Right. I think that I think that nobody thought I was actually going to change, Mike. I remember when I was going through the, fighting the case back in 2019 before I was sentenced, and my lawyer was even shocked. He's like, Tara, I didn't think you could do it. Because I've had a lot of tries, but I was ready. And like I said, God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. And it was time. And I think everybody is surprised that I changed, that I am the miracle that I am. I think people may still hold on to a little bit of anger, but that's okay because they're entitled to it. As long as I'm not being angry and resentful, that's what's most important. That's how I can keep moving forward and helping people. Mm-hmm. So, and if they're still angry with me and stuff, that's okay.
Okay, so before we close, is there anything you want to say, you want to share?
Just that, I was a slave to alcohol. I really was. I was obsessed with it. I couldn't stop thinking about alcohol, drinking it, when I was going to get the next one, how I was going to get the money to do it. When they say you can live a a happy, joyous, and free life, you really can. Like, that's another cliche, but it's so true. Like, I am so free and happy now. Like, I call it my bursting, glowing heart, my sacred heart of Jesus, like, and I have so much hope for my future and for my children. And I'm just truly blessed by it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tara.
Thanks.
And if anybody's looking for help or does need help, they can reach out to you.
They certainly can.
All right. And if anybody else wants to contact us, SoberSundayPodcast.com. Thank you so much, Tara.
Thank you for having me. It was great.
Our pleasure.
Thanks.